Reminded of the story that Paul Ryan told. It was, and I raised this many times on the show, and I can't remember exactly where he was, but it was a story that he heard from, I think it was a Wisconsin official. And the story, incidentally, was fake. Not only did Paul Ryan sort of embellish it, and it didn't happen to him, but the story in the first place was fake. And it was something to the effect of like, they were justifying cutting school lunches. And the story that he told was that he met a kid and he said to the kid, oh, we have the clip. It's at CPAC 2014. Let's play this clip. People need to remember what we're experiencing with Donald Trump is simply an extension of what we had with the Republican Party for decades. When Donald Trump goes out there and he's going to make the case that all this mail-in ballot stuff is corrupt and he's going to try and invalidate the election results in this state or that state because of mail-in ballots, people should remember that when he started talking about 3 million immigrants being bussed up from Massachusetts to go vote in New Hampshire or whatever it was, Paul Ryan was one of the people who was saying these late results coming in from California, very suspicious. Very suspicious. It's not only Donald Trump, folks. It's the Republican Party. Here's a clip of Paul Ryan back at CPAC in 2014, I guess it was. CPAC is where it's sort of like a Comic-Con for conservatives, and they're all, it has gotten more and more, frankly, insane since even 2014. It's always been a little bit nuts, but it's gotten even more crazy. Play this clip.
Is making a big mistake here. What they're offering people is a full stomach and an empty soul. The American people want more than that. You know, this reminds me of a story I heard from Eloise Anderson. She serves in the cabinet of my buddy, Governor Scott Walker. She once met a young boy from a very poor family. And every day at school, he would get a free lunch from a government program. He told Eloise he didn't want a free lunch. He wanted his own lunch, one in a brown paper bag, just like the other kids. He wanted one, he said, because he knew a kid with a brown paper bag had someone who cared for him. This is what the left does not understand.
Now, first off, the story turns out to be apocryphal. It never happened. But aside from that, you got to tear this apart and think about the implications here. He wants to cancel free school lunch with the presumption that it's really just because his mom or dad doesn't care about him, as opposed to cost. Now, Paul Ryan would also have a problem with Jeff Madrick's proposal. Let's give that parents money. And he would have a problem with everybody gets free lunch in the school. Therefore, there is no stigma attached with getting that lunch. But the implication here is that if you are living in poverty and you do not have the money, your folks don't have the money to buy lunch for you, they don't care about you. This is all about, the Republicans have been working on this for years. And maybe it's been just in decades. And maybe it's the broader American thing. This notion that if you are poor, you are in some way morally deficient. And one of the reasons why when Donald Trump, we used to say this all the time, in the lead up to the Republican primary debates in 2016, I guess it was 2015, we used to say this all the time, that the Republicans have been arguing for years that if you don't have money, you are morally inferior. You're just inferior. The corollary to that is if you do have money, you are morally superior. And for months, we were saying Donald Trump is going to get on that stage and he's going to look around with these other people and he's just going to say, I'm a billionaire. So what I say is right and what you guys say is wrong because I'm a billionaire. And in fact, that was implicit in everything that went on in that primary race. And that is because the Republicans had built this hierarchy. Remember, they wanted a CEO president at one point too? They built it. They have built this hierarchy where if you are wealthy, you are morally righteous. And Paul Ryan was just putting it on display there. He was couching it as if like, Democrats want parents not to care for their kids. The left wants parents not to care for the kids. They just want it's absurd. It's also not a true story. I mean, it's one thing to say like, yeah, I want my parents to care about me, but it's another to say like, yeah, I'm not going to eat if I don't want to eat. I don't need to eat. There is a lot of problems that predate Donald Trump and will be with us past Donald Trump.
You could economically empower those parents to have, more time to and ability to make those sandwiches for those kids.
There's a myriad of ways of addressing that. And Paul Ryan's only one is we will help you out if you can find a job when you can't find one. We'll help you out if you can find a job even though you don't have daycare. It is, and we should also add, just to put a cherry on top of this, Paul Ryan ended up going to college because when his dad died, Social Security, this is the program that Paul Ryan was looking for years desperately to cut. Social Security stepped in. Part of that social insurance is for orphans and widowers, and more or less paid for his college. And it seems, I don't know. I mean, I wonder if he feels like his parents didn't care for him or his mom didn't care for him because they didn't pay for his college. And the whole point of free lunches is because society cares about its children. I mean, that is exactly why you do that. So when that kid gets lunch, not only does his family care about him, but it's basically our collective way of saying, we care about you. We think you have value as a human being. We think that you should get the bare minimum of what a human being needs. Maybe we need to raise the value of that bare minimum. And maybe as a society, we need to get there when it comes to things like housing and healthcare, and in addition to nutrition, to the extent that we do that, and maybe even just like the ability to live a fairly secure existence without having to worry about these things. That's something to aspire to, anyways. So I don't know. Hope springs eternal with that kind of thing.